Today I'll be showing you how I installed hood lift struts on my 2006 Toyota Tacoma. I'm using the Spiker Engineering hood lift struts that come with the brackets for the fenders, the brackets for the hood. They come with gas struts. So what I used for this was drill bits. I'm not going to use the rivets that come with the kit. I'm going to use rib nuts. I use various sizes of drill bits. If you're only using the rivets, you probably only need 1 or 2 size of drill bits. Used a center punch, used a socket because I'm putting mine on with bolts, some safety glasses, tape measure, pop rivet gun, some touch-up paint, magic marker, and some blue tape. Directions are actually very good, provided with the kit, so don't throw those out right away. I used the Duplicolor paint from AutoZone. It says Toyota factory color, and it actually matches fairly decent. Okay, to put the bracket on the fender, I chose to put it in one of the recesses, the crush recesses. And I found that my fender, I thought, needed to come out away from the vehicle so that I could get my tool in there. So I'm going to take the fender loose a little bit by pulling it up. I think I can pull it away towards me to give room for the rib gun or the rivet tool to fit. So because the stud for the strut is raised there, if you try to put it on a flat surface, it rocks. So that that stud fits nicely into the crush zone there. So that's where I'm going to put it. So I put some blue tape down so I can mark the drill holes, hold it in place, and mark that with a little Sharpie. Once we have it marked, we can go ahead and get our center punch out. And careful, careful, careful. Center punch those. And then I like to start with a little bitty drill bit and work myself up to larger drill bits. So here I'm doing the operation in 3 steps. A little bitty one, a medium one, and the full-size bit. And I stuck a little bit of tape on top of the shavings, make less of a mess, and peel the tape back off. In this step, if you're using just rivets, you'll be using a standard rivet gun. I'm using rib nuts, so my process might be a little different than yours. With the rib nuts in place, I can put the fender bracket on, and fortunately it all lines up perfectly. And tighten those up. Read directions, checking the progress. Aha, need a hood prop. Pretty sure it specifies a midget size canoe oar, so that's what I'm using. Putting some blue tape up to mark for the hood side bracket. Center punch those. And for this one, since it was the first one that I did, I did just one hole first. Just to make sure that everything was going to fit and there wasn't going to be any interference issues. One first, attach the bracket, and then later I came back on. Make sure you put safety goggles on though. There we go. Better. So one hole done. Go ahead and throw a rib nut in there. Attach the bracket. and make sure everything works first, and then come back and drill the other 2 holes. Okay, take the prop out, and it stays up with just the 1 strut. And this is where I'm real careful, checking for clearance, make sure everything's gonna clear well, nothing's hitting anything. That was all totally fine. So went ahead and drilled the other 2 holes and threw a little paint on there and attached it permanently for the final time. Couple more rib nuts in here. These things are a little bit addictive. And I lucked out, and all 3 of those lined up perfectly with the bracket. So we tighten those up. The other side of the rod on, and the strut is done, so it's time to reattach the fender. So that's one side done. It's pretty much a duplication of efforts on the other side. The only difference that I noticed on this side is because I have, or I think it's because I have the antenna on the passenger fender. This fender was more difficult to move out of the way. So you can see I really had to work at it. But it did move a little bit up and out of the way, just enough to get my rib nut tool in there. And more blue tape. Mark out the location for those. The same spot there with the back side of that bracket fitting into the crush zone on that fender part. Pilot hole with a little tiny size drill bit, and then going the final size with a medium bit and a larger bit. Paint on there, maybe stop the rust. I live in a place where I'm not really concerned about rust, so meh. Go ahead and throw in a couple more rib nuts. Attach the bracket then. In this seam, my air strut is installed upside down. I realized my mistake later and fixed that. I'm not sure what the reason for it, but the directions clearly state that the main body end should be connected to the hood and the shaft end should be connected to the fender. So now we'll just mark for the upper bracket. And this is where the directions do say don't worry about measuring and making sure it's in exactly the same spot as the other side. Because I checked it with the tape measure and it's not exactly in the same spot. But the hood, I didn't want to force the hood to be in a position that it doesn't want to be in naturally. So this is where it's at, so that's where the struts get mounted. Drill those pilot holes again, and then come to final size with 2 more. I'm weeble wobbling around just to get my drill bit to drill just in the center of those holes. Peel off the tape and put our filings catch pan to the side, throw a little paint on. Magic of editing, it's dry. 3 more rib nuts. And then we can attach the hood bracket.
Click, click, click.
And here we go. And take out our hood prop. Didn't fall down, it's a good sign. And just be very mindful watching both sides. Kind of already checked the driver's side, but this is the whole kit and caboodle now. Make sure you don't feel any binding or nothing's hitting anything. Check things out as close as you can. Everything looked pretty good. I went ahead and give it a final click. Looking good. Now for the finale. This thing really pops up. Like you barely have to touch it and it lifts itself up. Directions do say to enjoy a beverage. It's right there in the directions, so who am I to argue?